So in the previous class we were uh, about to draw the root locus of any given plant, any given open loop plant. Okay, so any open loop transfer function, it has been given to us, and we are asked to find the root locus of the following plant. And I have already discussed that root locus is nothing but the trace of, or the locus of points. You are going to trace it when you are going to increase your k, when you are going to increase your k from 0 to infinity. Okay, and this gives us a flexibility to know how the plant would behave in a closed loop circuit. That is why, that is what it, the root locus uh, method has the significance. Without going into or solving into what's happening, we can actually take a feel of what uh, and how the system is going to behave in a closed loop sense. And why closed loop sense or closed loop is essential to control anything, in order to control the plant, okay, by any means. Okay, so this is what the bird eye view of the method we are going to discuss. The key steps to find the root locus is the following. A typical procedure: uh, first you have to determine the open loop poles and open loop zeros. Okay, just open loop poles and zeros, and determine the root locus on the real axis. So we are going to find whether this, let's suppose this is your branch, this is your S plane, real part and imaginary, we are going to plot, okay, your variables. So we are going to get the knowledge of, let's suppose I have a poles here, here, or here, somewhere here. So whether it lies in between this part or this part or this part or this part, this is going to be fixed by step 2, and we are going to take the help of the procedure called test point method. Okay. And what is this method? We were actually doing that in the last class, but we are going to do the exercise once again since we stuck somewhere. That is why. The third step would be to determine the asymptotes of the root locus. Sometimes what happens, your root locus, your whenever you start tuning your k from 0 to infinity, it is going to be shifted. It is going to be shifted in certain manner, and then it is going to be branched out. Okay, it is going to be branched out. We don't know. It is going to be go something like this, something like this. So the branching often occurs in root locus in symmetric manner with this particular x-axis, but this branching usually happens on the association with some sort of asymptote. It means this branching would occur parallel to some some line, and which is called asymptote. Okay, and we'll look into how we are going to find these asymptotes, what are the break-in points and or breakout points. So essentially, if it is going this way, this is called breakaway point. Sometimes root locus may come this way, and then it starts diverging somewhere else to infinity 1 and 1 to zeros somewhere sometimes, and this is called break-in point. So breakout and break-in points you may eventually see in your root locus more often. So this is what it is written here: determine the breakaway and break-in points. Next thing is to determine the points where the root locus crosses the imaginary axis. So sometimes we are more interested. Let's suppose I have started my poles somewhere here. Okay, somewhere here. So one of the root locus, it is going to go something like this, and this root locus goes something like this. So it it eventually crosses this imaginary axis, this horizontal line somewhere, and this has a large implication, or has a great importance when it crosses j omega axis. Okay, the reason being, once your root locus lies into right half plane, you directly, just by looking at the root locus, you can say that once you are going towards right half plane, your system is going to be unstable. And so that is why it is it is kind of design consideration also, that you should keep yourself uh, into left half plane in order to keep the systems stable. Okay. And which is obvious also, because once you cross this imaginary axis, you will have positive um, real part, right? So when I talk in terms of time dependent functions, so e to e raised to the power some positive, some positive, let's suppose 2t or 5t plus 5t. So once you cross right hand side, so these coefficients here essentially gives you exponential raise in your system, and that is why it is unstable. We'll look more closely why it is more quantitatively, why it is more unstable and all, but just to give an overview, uh, when it is having left hand, I mean it is in the left hand side, your function essentially would read e to the power minus 2t or something, and this gives you a exponentially decaying function, and thus makes your system stable in terms of time domain. I'm telling, because in S domain you cannot say directly why it is being stable or unstable. So it is a thumb rule that you just avoid right half of the S plane. Okay. So these are some criticalities, and fine, to choose a test point in the broad neighborhood of j omega, draw the root locus finally. So let's start. Let's take this particular example. This is an open loop transfer function which is having no zeros and 3 poles in the system. Okay. So 3 poles are namely s is equal to 0, s is equal to -1, and s is equal to -2. So let me plot these on the S plane. So this is my real part of S, this is my imaginary part of S. Okay, sometimes you may have imaginary roots as well. Okay, sometimes obviously you may have, like k is equal to let's suppose s plus 1 not this way, sorry, k divided by let's suppose I have something like this, s plus s square plus 1, something like this. So when you want to see what are the poles here, so you have to equate s square plus 1 is equal to 0 and s square is equal to -1. So s is equal to under root -1 plus minus. So you'll have what are your roots? Plus minus I, isn't it? So you have complex roots as well. So this, for this particular thing, you have to be careful while plotting. So these are real solutions. This is imaginary solution. So obviously so this is the S plane. So you need to write in this fashion, a plus ib something. So this particular guy over here, I can write 0 plus 1i and plus minus I. So 0 minus 1i, and you are going to, so this, so upper you go on the x is equal to 0, and so you will have this and this, something like this. You will have these two things are plotted over here. Nevertheless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot these guys first. Okay. Fine. So since there are no imaginary number that are associated, there are no i's here, so it will be plainly plotted on this real axis. Okay, so these are my, so first one is s is equal to 0 somewhere here. Okay, this is your 0, maybe somewhere here this is -1, somewhere here -2. So now you have done with your step 1. Okay, just locating, determine the open and open loop poles and zeros. So there are only 3 poles, and yes, you are done with it. Fine. Now you have to identify. Now you have to identify whether your root locus lies in this particular, I mean, if at all you are going to change your k, your root locus is going to trace something right hand way, or in this particular region, or in this particular region, or in this particular region. We don't know. So in order to get the information of what could be the range of the root locus on the real axis, we have something called determination on the real axis through the test point. And this doesn't come abruptly. It comes from the angle condition. If you talk about angle condition, if you take, if you want to take the angles, okay, or argument of g of s, from there it comes actually. So here, what is the thumb rule here? You take any test point s, okay, and if you want to seek whether it lies here or here or somewhere, maybe test point is above the plane, I mean above this line, I mean real axis line, but it may, you may also take test point here or here or here, somewhere here. Okay, so this is, it is taken to be here in a generic way, I mean most generic generalized sense. What you have to do is you have to connect these test points to all your poles. So let's suppose this is your P2, this is your P1, maybe you have zeros as well, you have other poles P4 and P3 here, and you are going to calculate the angle. Okay, theta 1, so this is theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4, and the zeros are phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, if at all there are more number of zeros there. Now you are going to calculate the final angle in this fashion: summation of all the thetas, probably phi minus theta, phi minus summation of all the thetas. This is what you are going to do. So phi is subtended by zeros and theta is subtended by the poles. Okay, and now you have to make a decision based on if at all this angle is odd multiple of 180 degree. Okay, if at all it is odd multiple of 180 degree, your root locus lies on that region. That's it. So let's do the exercise once more. For this case, so let's erase some of the things. Okay. We have the imaginary, real axis, something like this. We have one pole over here. This is 0. This is -1. This is -2. Okay. Now let's start to take the test point. Over right hand side. Okay. So let's suppose this is my test point. Okay. Just and take an angle. What are those angles? So all these angles subtend 0 degrees, right? Right. So this is your test point. These are your poles. Okay. So this is this is 0 degree, right? Since this is on same axis. This also same 0 degree. This also same 0 degree. Okay. In a way, you okay. So right hand side, it is evident that your root locus does not lie right hand side. That's for sure. So this does not have anything to do. Let's keep the test point over here. Okay, now somewhere here. So let's make make first pole, angle, and let's subtend it. So this is 180 degree, and rest of the angles subtend 0 degrees. Okay, so now 0 plus 0 plus 180 is the odd multiple of 180, and yes, now you are sure that your root locus will eventually lie somewhere in this range. Good. Okay, now let's take the test point over here. Sorry. Somewhere here. Okay. Now you know that this subtends 180 degree. Second one also subtend 180 degree. Third one subtend 0 degree, right? So in this area from -2 to -1 or -1 to -2, we have 0 plus 180 plus 180. So this is the even multiple of 180. So this does not lie on root locus, that's for sure. Now the third thing, let's discuss for the third point as well. Let's take it purple. This, let's suppose I am taking this point, and yes, again this is subtending 180, again this is subtending 180, again subtending 180. So 3 times 180. Yes. So after 2 it lies on root locus, that's for sure. So now we have a primitive picture of root locus. How does root locus would lie on these planes, these number lines. Let me erase this. Let me erase properly, and let me write it clearly again. So in the last class we got confused. It's fine, it happens. So whatever the root locus that are going to be identified as it should lie on real axis, we can darken it. So This is for sure. I know that this is our root locus. We could darken it. Okay, but we don't know how it is branching or not. Okay, we have another steps to find it out. So this goes to infinity. This is for sure. Okay, now the thumb rule again. Next thumb rule is poles. I mean poles from k is equal to 0. It starts from poles. And when you increase your k till infinity, it should end at either zeros or infinity. So this is the thumb rule. Any root locus will start from poles. This is the thumb rule when you start from k is equal to 0 again, and it will end at either infinity or at 0. Okay, so here there are 3 poles and there are no zeros. So what I could expect, all root locus starts from poles, all the poles, okay, this and this, and eventually goes to infinity. That's for sure. So this is obvious that this root locus will go till infinity this way. Okay, as k tending to infinity. But this is not obvious because these two things are poles again. It cannot come from one pole and merge into another pole. It should go to infinity somehow. So we know that some breakaway or break-in breakaway must be happening somewhere. Now we need to find what are the breakaway points where the root locus, one of the root locus goes to infinity, something like this. Another it comes from here and breakaways and something like this. And also keep a note of it that all your root locus must be symmetric. Why? It's a complex number and complex solutions. So complex solutions are often comes in conjugates, right? So it will be always symmetric. Fine. So now let's go through one more, intermediate step to know where it starts and where it ends. Okay. So the first thing is, if at all your poles, number of poles and number of zeros are equal. Let's suppose you have 3 poles and 3 zeros. Then all the root locus branches starts at finite loop poles and ends with finite loop zeros. It's very simple. Let's suppose you have s plus 1, s plus 2, k is there always, and we have s minus 1, s minus 2, s minus 3. Fine. And I want to keep a track of root locus. So since the poles are how many poles? Sorry, how many zeros? Zeros are 0, comma, minus 1, comma, minus 2. How many poles? 1, comma, 2, comma, 3. So 1, comma, 2, comma, 3 are the poles. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And 0, comma, so zeros I will denote it with circle. 0, comma, minus 1, comma, minus 2. So 3 poles, 3 zeros. So eventually it will go something like this. It will merge something like this. I don't know, but we need to actually explore. This is the thumb rule. Eventually one pole has to, it's kind of pair. You have one pole, one zeros. Eventually pairs. So that's it. So finite loop, it starts from finite loop poles and it will end at, or it will die at finite open loop poles, zeros. Okay. Second thing, but this is not necessary. You may have the situation that you have poles, number of poles are larger than number of zeros. You may have 3 poles and let's suppose 1 zeros. Okay. So what it tells that Then Z number of root locus branches start at finite open loop poles and end at finite open loop zeros, and P minus Z number of root locus branches start at finite loop poles and end at infinite open loop zeros. Means, let's suppose this is 3P and 1Z. Okay, so one P and 1Z can make a pair. Okay, so 1P is going to 1Z and you are left with 2Ps, and these 2Ps will end at infinity. It's simple. Okay, I mean, if at all it is able to find its couple, it will end into 0. Rest of the couples will end at infinity. Fine. Similar case here. This is kind of opposite. So if the poles are less than zeros, so here let's take an example. I mean, we have, in this case, we have 3 poles but 0 zeros. Okay, now it has no couples. No way it can go into the zeros because these doesn't have any zeros, right? So eventually all those poles will die at infinity. Okay. The third case is where your number of poles is lesser than zeros. Then again, P number of root locus branches start at infinite open loop poles. Okay, P is the lesser one and end at finite open loop zeros, and Z minus P, it's opposite, not P minus Z, Z minus P, since Z is larger. Number of root locus branches starts at infinite poles, infinite open loop poles, and end at finite open loop zeros. It means somewhere from infinity it starts coming and it will merge to some zeros. This is what is going to happen. We'll take all these cases. In the meantime, when we take up few examples, it will be more clear. But it's obvious also, if you have couple with you, you are going to die there. If you don't have any couple, you are going to end at infinity. That's all. Okay, the angle of asymptote. Okay, here in this particular case, we know that this is going to infinity, but these two guys, -1 and 0, is going to break somewhere. It is going to break and go to infinity in this manner, but we don't know at what asymptote it makes. So this. So what do you mean by asymptote? Can somebody tell me? Any idea? It's a mathematical construct. So your curve is going to be aligned to a particular line, okay, linear line at infinity, and whose slope is going to be determined by this formula. Okay, and it says that your angle of asymptote, it means you are going to break out. So this goes to infinity, and one more time. Okay, and this guy start coming down, but eventually breaks out. Something like this, and this guy, 0 guy. Let me get some other color. This guy starts coming this way and eventually breaks something like this, and this will be symmetric in nature, but this is how your root locus would look like. Okay, now the question is how, I mean, there are two questions again. What is the break? I mean, what is this value? At what particular value this breakaway and breakaway happens, right? At what particular value? So you want to know this value also. Okay, what is this value? This also we want to know. So this is called breakaway point. It is going to break away. So we want to know this value, plus we want to know what is the asymptote value it will make at infinity. These lines make at infinity. So we want to know these slopes. Okay, these slopes. So slope we have the angle of asymptote. We have a formula. This is 2k plus 1. Your 2n plus 1 times 180 divided by p minus z. Okay, P is the total number of poles, Z is the total number of zeros. So in our case, we have, let's calculate theta is equal to 2n plus 1 times 180 divided by, we have total number of poles, how much? 3. Total number of zeros, how much? 0. So we are going to write 3n plus 1 times 180 divided by 3. So this is 60. So 2n plus 1 times 60. Let's take one can be any integer, so it can start from 0, 1 to anything. So let's put n is equal to 0. So we have 60 degree, comma, if we put n is equal to 1, we have how much? 180 degree. When I put n is equal to 2, how much? It's 300 degrees, isn't it? So these three angle of asymptotes we actually evaluated 60 degree, and this is logical also. Why? So this will make 60 degree, and this will make, so actually this is 60 degree or minus 60 degree, or we can also write 300 degree, isn't it? It's same. And 180 degree is the asymptote for this particular guy. It will come. So this is 180 degree asymptote. Isn't it beautiful? It just came because of this formula, and this comes from, again, from angle conditions. You will get in any Ogata textbook. You just have to stick with this formula and you are ready to go. So now you know that what are your angle conditions, what are your asymptote angles of your root locus. Okay, now the third thing is determining the breakaway and break-in points. This is the last thing you would expect. Okay. So in order to do that, so what you have to do is you have to take the help of for breakaway and break-in points. You have to take the help of characteristics equation. Okay, so what characteristic equation we have? So we have GH, obviously we have a plant over here, and so obviously feedback H was 1, and we have gain K over here. Now we have to make a characteristic equation or closed loop equation. So we did this exercise many times. So the closed loop plant is having transfer function as G by 1 plus G. I mean, isn't it? Closed loop plant we have done many times, right? So if at all GH is 1, so you have directly G by 1 plus G. This is your closed loop plant. That would the transfer function of closed loop plant would look like. Now I told that characteristic equation are those while equating the denominator equal to 0, and this gives you this particular guy over here, or maybe more, I mean in more generic sense, this is 1 plus GH is equal to 0 is your characteristic equation. Now we are going to differentiate with K. Okay, so let's quickly take what our plant is. So G is equal to K upon S times S plus 1 S plus 2. This is our plant, isn't it? Now what is my characteristic equation? Obviously H bar 1 unity feedback. Okay, now when we make this plant as in order to write in terms of characteristic equation, we have G times H is equal to 0. Now we can write straight away, write 1 plus K divided by S times S plus 1 S plus 2 times 1, H is 1, is equal to 0 simply. Now we are going to write S times S plus 1 S plus 2 plus K is equal to 0. Now you have some equation in terms of K and S both, And now we are going to do is differentiate k with respect to s and make it to 0. Now what we are going to do is now differentiating this particular equation with respect to s. Okay. So what we would find over here is, so d upon ds, we'll do that whole equation plus k is equal to 0. Okay, and now this equation, differentiation of this, or the slope of this particular equation, or not slope, differentiation of this equation equated to 0. Maybe I mean the mathematical physics behind this you could get into some books, but it needs additional hours to take into account, but I don't want to go into the details. But we just, since we are taking up the thumb rules to make the root locus, this is an advantageous way. You just have to differentiate k with respect to s and make it to 0. And once you do that, you will have equation, and you can find certain things. Also, let me okay, I can make it over here. So d by ds, s times s plus 1, s plus 2 plus k is equal to 0. That's all we have to do. So let's quickly do the differentiation. Can somebody tell me what is this? So this is s square plus s plus 2 plus k d by ds is equal to 0. And what is this d by ds? Once again, I can quickly write s cube plus 2s square plus s square plus 2s plus k, and this I can make it 0. I will write 3 here, and now I have to differentiate it. Now while differentiating, we will have 3s square here plus 6s plus 2 plus this is dk by ds is equal to 0. Okay, fine. Now what we have to do is we have to write dk by ds is equal to minus of 3s square plus 6s plus 2. This is what we get. Now it is told that dk by ds you equate it to 0. Essentially this equation goes to 0, and now you have the roots of the solution. Now this is very beautiful. Now when you do the algebra properly, you will get s comes out to be two equations. S comes out to be minus of 0.426, and s second solution comes out to be, this is a quadratic equation. It's just take a calculator or you can do the algebra. And second solution comes out to be minus 1.526. Okay, so here are two solutions, two breakaway and break-in points, or breakaway points for here. So one is minus 0.4, second is minus 1.5. Obviously, when you look closely here, you can see this is your 0, this is your 1, this is your minus 1, this is your minus 2, and you found your solutions to be minus 0.4 and minus 1.57. Obviously, minus 1.57 cannot be a solution because root locus does not lie here. Okay, so the only feasible solution is s is equal to minus 0.4. So now this value we have determined. This value is minus 0.426 or whatever. Now you know that this is this. Now let me, so this root locus would look something like this. Now let me quickly go through the Octave online and let's do the calculation, and let's find whether we are on the right track or not. Okay, let's see quickly. In 5 minutes, I'll let you. You guys also can do things parallelly with me, and let's see whether we can. Fine. So let us dismiss. So let us first define our transfer function, right? What is our transfer function? Let's do quickly. This is my transfer function, right? So we'll not write k over here. I mean, that is not needed. So transfer function is 1 upon. Okay, what is the polynomial here actually? Can somebody quickly tell me what could be what's happening here? So first we have to find the make the system. So 1 is numerator, denominator is okay, fine, we can do this quickly. What is denominator? K divided by s times s plus 1 s plus 2, right? So this we should multiply it quickly. So s square plus s times s plus 2, and this is s cube.
S cube plus 3s square.
हाँ बोलिए बोलिए
S
मुझे
cube plus 3s
हाँ
square
3s square
plus 2s.
plus 2s. Thank you. What how I'm going to define my transfer functions in the octal? So tf I will do tf ऊपर में 1 ही रहेगा नीचे. So this polynomial is 1. So 1 comma or comma I mean it's not needed. 1 dash 3 dash 2 dash 0. Why 0? Because there are no constant polynomials, right? 0 times something. So this is the way it is written. Okay. Now we are going to write this quickly here. Let's see. Let's see if it works. Even I don't know. Let's see. So this is 1 time 1 3 2 and 0. This is my polynomial has been defined. Now straight away you have to do r locus tf. Let's see if it works. I don't know, or no, not tf, system sys. Let's save it and let's run. Okay, lovely. See, you guys also do that. Wow, this is so beautiful. See, so there are 3 poles, one on zeros, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 2 पे है, ठीक है? And the root locus, when I want to tweak my k, it starts moving at infinity. It will go till infinity, and this guy starts and it breaks somewhere here at minus 0.4 somewhere, and it goes this infinity and it goes this infinity. Isn't it beautiful? I would recommend you guys to do it parallelly with me. I mean, just let me know if you guys are able to do it or not on the software also. By hand also we have done, but the same thing. So this hand I have done, but the same thing you can do it on the Octave also. So please somebody send me some screenshots so that I can I could know that you guys are aware. Anybody who can give me this plot? Anybody? No? Om is there or is not here? Vivek, some Vivek is there who also participates more often. Vivek Panchal or some. Kanav is not here in this class. Jay Gajjar, are you there? So it seems so. So please somebody respond so that so that I could know that you guys are listening. You guys don't have any difficulty. Is it understood so far? Just anybody? Anybody?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Sir. Okay, fine. Then I have taken attendance, so we may leave then.